Good morning everyone. This is Raghu, Assistant Professor of Biotechnology from SRN BGNR Government College, Khammam. So today's topics are DNA replication and mutations. So while coming to the definition of DNA replication, so DNA replication is the property of the DNA to make an exact copy of itself. That is, the DNA will make an exact copy of itself by a process called as replication. So, while coming to the different types of replication models, there are three types of replication models: semi-conservative mode of replication, conservative mode of replication, and dispersive mode of replication. So, as shown in the figure in the left side, semi-conservative mode of replication, where both the parent strand will act as templates for the synthesis of daughter strands. So after first round of replication, one strand will be of parental and one strand will be of newly synthesized strand. So whereas in conservative mode of replication, completely after first round of replication, the parental strand will remain same and a new double-stranded daughter strands are synthesized. So after one round of replication, completely one is parental DNA, double-stranded DNA, the other one is newly synthesized daughter DNA. So that is conservative mode of replication. Whereas in dispersive mode of replication, it is a patchwork of parental as well as newly synthesized strands. So these are the three modes of replication. So semi-conservative, conservative and dispersive mode of DNA replication. So among these three types of DNA replication, semi-conservative mode of DNA replication is the widely accepted method of DNA replication, and it is proved by Messelson and Stahl with their experiments with E. coli cultures. So it is also called as Messelson and Stahl experiment. So this is the Messelson and Stahl experiment. In the right side, the figure shows. So they have taken E. coli cultures and incubated these E. coli cells in N15 containing medium. And after some time, they subjected these E. coli cultures DNA to cesium chloride, density gradient cesium chloride centrifugation. So after incubation in N15 medium, they got a band in cesium chloride density gradient solution, a single band they got. So which is having N15 isotope in both the strands. So after that, they have incubated these E. coli cells in N14 containing medium. So after few rounds of replication, they found that a single band again, but the band is composed of old and new strand. So N15 containing parent strand and N14 containing newly synthesized band. So they got a single band. So they continued growing these E. coli cells in the same medium. After few hours of incubation, they again performed the cesium chloride density gradient centrifugation. Then they observed two different bands. One is completely N14 containing band and the other one is N15 and N14 containing band. So you can clearly observe in the right side figure number from the top, figure number 3, where they got two bands. One is hybrid band N15 N14 containing band, other one is pure N14 N14 containing band. By this experiment, they have observed that the mode of replication in E. coli is especially semi-conservative type of replication. So with this Messelson and Stahl density gradient cesium chloride experiment using N15 and N14 radioisotopes, they have proved the process of DNA replication is semi-conservative. While coming into the replication process and the enzymes involved in replication, DNA polymerases are the principal enzymes which are involved in the process of DNA replication. This DNA polymerases, otherwise called as DNA dependent DNA polymerases, also called as DNA dependent DNA polymerases. These are the principal enzymes which are involved in the replication. Now we will see the process of replication in prokaryotes and the other enzymes that are involved in the process of replication. So these are the list of the enzymes that are involved in the DNA replication of prokaryotic cells. So DNA pole 1, DNA pole 2, DNA pole 3, these are the three DNA polymerases. The other enzymes involved: helicase, lipase, primase, topoisomerase, single-stranded binding proteins. These are the other enzymes required for the process of DNA replication. So if you see the function of each enzyme, DNA polymerase 1, this DNA polymerase 1 has two functions. That means they have priming function, that means polymerization activity, and the other one is exonuclease activity. So 5' to 3' polymerization activity, 3' to 5' exonuclease activity, 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. So these are the three activities where the DNA polymerase 1 is involved. Whereas DNA polymerase 2, it is especially involved in repair function. So it has 5' to 3' polymerization activity. Whereas DNA polymerase 3, it is called as the principal enzyme or the main enzyme in the process of DNA replication. It has 5' to 3' polymerization activity and 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. The main difference between DNA polymerase 1 and 3 is DNA polymerase 1 has an extra activity, that is 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. So DNA polymerase 1 is also called as Korenberg's enzyme. So this Korenberg's enzyme has an extra activity, that is 5' to 3' exonuclease activity, which plays an important role in proofreading after DNA replication. So helicase, the main function of the helicase is unwinding of DNA. The DNA will be unwinded by helicase for the process of replication, and ligase will seal the nick whenever it is needed, that we will see during the process, and the primase will synthesize short primers which are used by the DNA polymerases for the synthesis of DNA, and the topoisomerases will remove the strain involved in the replication process. During unwinding, there will be a torsional strain in the other side of the DNA that will be removed by the topoisomerases. And single-stranded binding proteins, they will prevent intra-strand duplex formation. That means rewinding of double-stranded DNA which is unwinded during the process of DNA replication. So these are the enzymes that are involved in the process of DNA replication. So these are enzymes. These enzymes also have some other names which we will see in the next slide. So these are the few other names of enzymes. DNA-A, so this is an enzyme or a protein which will recognize the origin of replication. DNA-B, helicase is also called as DNA-B protein, whereas primase it is called as DNA-G. And DNA gyrase, topoisomerases which is mentioned in the previous slide, is also called as DNA gyrase, especially topoisomerase 2. And DNA-C, it will help the binding of DNA-A and DNA-B. So these are the few other names of enzymes which are involved in the process of DNA replication. So while coming into the process of DNA replication, so replication will occur in 3 steps: initiation, elongation and termination. The process of initiation of DNA replication occurs at REC, replication origin of replication. It is also called as REC, which is a 245 base pair sequence on the double stranded DNA, which is recognized by DNA A protein. So DNA A protein with the help of ATP will recognize the origin of replication, which occurs at multiple sites in the DNA of the E. coli. So DNA A will bind. After that, DNA C will go and bind where DNA A is bound to the REC region. So the DNA C now recruits DNA B, which is called as helicase, for the unwinding of the DNA at the origin region. So once helicase is recruited, that is DNA B, immediately DNA C will be removed from the initiation point. So now the process of DNA replication will be initiated, where other enzymes which I have mentioned in the previous slides will come and recruited at the site of origin, that is REC, and the DNA polymerase 3, the principal enzyme, will start the process of DNA replication. After unwinding of DNA by helicase, it is called as the replication fork. It's called as replication fork, on which the elongation will take place. So this is the replication fork on the right side of the slide. So this is the replication fork where double stranded DNA is unwound into two single stranded DNA. So one strand it is called as leading strand or continuous strand. The other one is called as lagging strand or discontinuous strand. So leading strand means the DNA replication will be, that means the DNA synthesis will be continuously taking place in the leading strand. So it is called as continuous strand. Lagging strand, the DNA will be replicated in short fragments called as Okazaki fragments. After the completion of lagging strand, the primers are removed and the gap is filled by the DNA polymerase 1. So DNA polymerase 1 will do the function of primer removal and gap filling, where the nick is sealed by the ligase. So this is leading strand and lagging strand, and the short fragments on the lagging strands are called as Okazaki fragments. While coming to the termination, so once the DNA polymerase does its function, that is polymerization of DNA, it has to stop the process of DNA replication. So it will stop the process of DNA replication once it reaches a sequence called as termination sequences, TER sequences. So that process of termination occurs with the help of TUS proteins, termination utilization sequences, termination utilization proteins. So this TUS and TER complex, protein as well as DNA complex, when the DNA polymerase is being moved, when it touches this TUS and TER complex, it is detached from the DNA and the double stranded DNA will be rewound as shown in the figure in the right top. So those TUS and TER complexes you can see in red line. So those are the TUS and TER complexes. When these DNA polymerases meet these TUS and TER complexes, immediately topoisomerase 4 plays an important role in dividing the two DNAs. One will be of parental strand and the other one is newly synthesized strand. So both will be having one parental strand and the other one is newly synthesized strand. So this is the process of termination. So the next one is rolling circle replication. So in rolling circle replication especially takes place during plasmid transfer. That means F plasmid, fertility factor. So F plasmid between F plus cells, F minus cells, HFR cells, F cells, HFR and F prime. So during these conjugations, the mode of DNA replication will be rolling circle replication. So here in rolling circle replication, a nick is created in the DNA and one strand will be displaced by continuously synthesizing the other strand. Okay, and during transfer only the other will be synthesized and one strand will be replaced by newly synthesized strand. So after replication, one strand will be parental, one will be newly synthesized. So this is called as rolling circle of DNA replication that especially takes place during conjugation and plasmid replication. So the other one is theta mode of DNA replication. In theta mode of DNA replication, so it will be a bidirectional mode of replication where it will look like theta, a mathematical symbol, where the leading strand and lagging strand you can clearly see in the right side of the figure. Leading strand and lagging strand, it looks like a theta. So one will be in this direction, one will be the other direction, and all the enzymes for the process of replication are same. Since it's look like a theta, a mathematical symbol, it is called as theta replication. This is also used for the plasmid replication in bacteria. So these are the other two modes of replications, rolling circle and theta replication, especially involved in plasmid replication. So the other topic is mutations. The sudden changes that occur in the DNA are called as mutations. So mutations can be heritable or inheritable. So based on the occurrence. So based on the occurrence, so these are the two different types of replication process: somatic mutations and germline mutations. So based on the occurrence and inheritance, these are of two types. So if the mutations occur in somatic cells, they are called as somatic mutations. They are not inheritable, that is, they are not inherited since they occur in the somatic cells. For example, best example of somatic cells are breast cancer. So breast cells are somatic cells. If it occurs in somatic cells of breast, it is not heritable. If it is genetic, then it is heritable. So those are called as germline mutations. So these germline mutations, if they occur during egg or sperm cell formation, then these type of mutations are heritable. So these egg cells or sperm cells, they are called as germinal cells. So if these germinal cells, they contain mutations, they are inherited from one generation to another generation. If they occur in somatic cells, they are not inheritable. If they occur in the germline cells, they are inheritable. Okay. And the next one is spontaneous mutations and induced mutations. How mutations occur? They may occur spontaneously or they may be induced. So spontaneous mutations, the exact reason is not known, but due to the existence of amino groups and enol groups, keto groups in the nitrogen bases, these spontaneous mutations will occur. This amino-imino form interchanging and keto-enol form interchanging is called as tautomerism, tautomeric shifts. So tautomeric shifts are possible due to variations in the pH of the surrounding DNA. So in such conditions, spontaneous mutations will occur. Whereas in induced mutations, they may be physical agents or chemical agents. So physical agents are like ultraviolet radiations, ionizing radiations, etc. Chemical agents will be chemical compounds which will induce mutations. So spontaneous mutations, as I told, they may occur due to tautomeric shifts. So this is called as thymine adenine. So this is, you can see in the left side. So A will bind with T with 2 hydrogen bonds and thymine will bind with GC. So you can see in the top right, guanine will bind with cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds. So the top two are the normal ATGC binding. So when there is a tautomeric shift in the nitrogen bases, thymine will bind with guanine, which can be viewed in the bottom of the slide, and cytosine will bind with adenine. So thymine will bind with guanine with 3 hydrogen bonds, and cytosine will bind to adenine with 2 hydrogen bonds. So general base pairing is shifted. So ATGC base pairing is shifted to TG and AC base pairing, and the hydrogen bonds between AC is 2 and between GT is 3. This tautomeric shifts leads to mutations. So that is change in the base pairing. So that is spontaneous mutations which occur due to tautomeric shifts. So that is next one is induced mutations. So induced mutations, as I already mentioned, they may be physical agents, that is radiations, or chemical agents, any chemical compound. So the first chemical compound who identified as a mutagen is a compound which will induce mutation, was Arbeck. So Arbeck was a scientist who has identified a mutagen. So mutagen is a chemical compound that will induce mutations. So he was the first scientist, Charlotte Arbeck, who has identified this mutagen. So as I mentioned, physical mutations, two types, ionizing radiations and non-ionizing radiations. So ionizing radiations include X-rays and gamma rays. Non-ionizing radiations include UV rays. The major problem with the ionizing radiations is they cause chromosomal breaks. So these are called as chromosomal aberrations. So chromosomal aberrations are the major causes caused due to ionizing radiations. That is X-rays and gamma rays. These are called as ionizing radiations. They release secondary particles that will damage the DNA, especially chromosomes. Such damage is called as chromosomal aberrations. Whereas non-ionizing radiations like UV light, they form dimers, thymine dimers. So if two thymines are at adjacent region, immediately if such DNA is exposed to UV light, then the thymine will form dimer. That is called as thymine dimers. So next one is chemical mutagens. So base analogs, nitrous acid, alkylating agents, all these will come under chemical mutagens. So these are base analogs. Bromourazil. So it is a base analog. 2-aminopurine is another base analog. 2-aminopurine and bromourazil. So generally A will bind with T. This is general binding AT, because thymine it is called as 5-methyl uracil or 2,4-dioxy 5-methyl pyrimidine. So 5-bromourazil, it is similar to methyl uracil, that is thymine. Hence it is similar to thymine, it will bind with adenine. So that is the major role of base analogs, 2-aminopurine and 5-bromourazil. So this is 5-bromourazil, which is similar to structure of thymine. So instead of binding thymine to adenine, 5-bromourazil will bind to adenine. So after replication, after the process of replication, you can see the base pair changing. So generally A will bind with T and G will be with C. See here clearly, after replication of DNA, the 5-bromourazil is binding to guanine. So that is the function of 5-bromourazil. Okay, so if mutation occurs at thymine, 5-bromourazil, after replication, the 5-bromourazil will bind with guanine instead of thymine. So that is base analogs. Next one is alkylating agents. Alkylating agents are ethyl methyl sulfonate and methyl methyl sulfonate. Here also the base pairing will change. Guanine will bind with thymine and the adenine will bind with cytosine, and vice versa. It does not follow the Watson-Crick of base pairing. because of these bulky groups ethyl methyl sulfonate and methyl methyl sulfonate. So this is general guanine. You can see in the left side bottom guanine. When an alkylating agent is present, it is converted into 6 methyl guanine. Instead of binding with cytosine, it is binding with thymine. You can clearly see here. So that is the function of alkylating agents. Generally A will bind with T and G will bind with C. So that is Watson-Crick pair of base pairing. Whenever there is a mutagen or an agent that will change the nitrogen base structure, immediately adenine will bind with cytosine and guanine will bind with thymine. So that is shown here in alkylating agents. So that is alkylating agents. So next one is intercalating agents. Intercalating agents. Acridine orange, proflavin, ethidium bromide. So those are the few intercalating agents. So ethidium bromide generally used in agarose gels for identification of the DNA and RNA in the gels with the help of UV light. With the help of UV light, you can identify the bands which are present on the gels, especially DNA RNA bands, with the help of ethidium bromide. So ethidium bromide, acridine orange, proflavin, these compounds are called as intercalating agents. They will intercalate in the double stranded DNA. So they will intercalate in the base stacking between hydrogen bonds in between the double stranded DNA. So that is intercalating agents. So while coming to the effects of mutation, so what are the effects of the mutations? So you can see three major effects: silent mutation, missense mutation, nonsense mutation. So these are the three effects of the mutations. So silent mutation, there is no problem with this mutation. If at all there is a base change, then also the base will code for the same amino acid. So that is called a silent mutation. There is no change in the amino acid sequence in the protein. If the mutation will takes place also, there is no change in the sequence, amino acid sequence in the protein, then it is called a silent mutation. So in missense mutation, there will be a change in the amino acid in the protein due to the mutation. So that is causing a misguided protein. Best example is sickle cell anemia. In beta chain of hemoglobin at 6th position, glutamic acid is replaced by valine. A single amino acid change. Glutamic acid replaced by valine, 6th position in beta chain of hemoglobin. It leads to sickle cell anemia. Change in the shape of the RBC cells from biconcave to sickle cell. So there is a change in the protein, there is a change in the phenotype. So such changes are called as missense mutation. Instead of synthesizing one protein, a new protein will be synthesized which may be useless or sometimes it may be hyperactive. So that is called as missense mutation. So nonsense mutation. If a mutation caused will terminate the synthesis of protein due to stop codon, a mutation occurred, suddenly a stop codon occurred. So this will lead to improper synthesis of the protein. So protein without complete synthesis, it will be terminated. So that is called as nonsense mutation. So nonsense proteins, that means incomplete proteins are synthesized. So these are the effects of mutation. Silent mutation, there is no change. Missense mutation, a new protein will be synthesized with malfunction. Nonsense mutation, incomplete protein will be synthesized or terminated. Protein synthesis will be terminated. So while coming to the next one is types of mutations, point mutations, which occur at a single nucleotide, a single position in the DNA. That may cause frame shift mutation. So frame shift mutations are two types, insertion and deletion. So the reading frame of the entire sequence of DNA will be changed. For example, if you are synthesizing a peptide of 10 amino acid, 10 into 3, 30 nucleotides should be present. Insertion of another nucleotide, that means 31 nucleotides will come, which will lead to synthesis of, which will change the frame or reading frame of the DNA, it will lead to synthesis of a new protein instead of required protein, or deletion of a nucleotide. That means 30 nucleotides. If you remove one nucleotide, 29 nucleotides. In such case, the reading frame is changed and an improper protein will be synthesized. So insertion or deletion of a single nucleotide will change the complete reading frame of the DNA sequence, that is called as frame shift mutation. Substitution mutations. Substitution means replacing one nucleotide by another nucleotide. That is called as substitution mutations. These are of two types, transitions and transversion. You can clearly see transition and transversion. So the A is its transition mutation. You can clearly see in the DNA, a purine is replaced by a purine. You can clearly see in the diagram, adenine is replaced by guanine. Both are purines. Then it is called as a transition mutation. A purine is replaced by purine, or a pyrimidine is replaced by pyrimidine. So thymine replaced by cytosine. Both are pyrimidines. So it is called as transition mutation. Transversion. If a purine is replaced by pyrimidine or pyrimidine is replaced by purine, you can clearly see B, transversion. C is cytosine is a pyrimidine replaced by guanine, which is a purine. Guanine is a purine which is replaced by cytosine, which is a pyrimidine. So this is called as transversion. So substitution, if a purine is replaced by purine, it is called as transition. If a pyrimidine is replaced by purine and vice versa, it is called as transversion. So these are substitution mutation. So that is DNA replication and mutations, their consequences, types, etc. So thank you for patiently listening to today's topic. Thank you once again.